Hey everyone, Mario again, coming out to another review. Today I'm reviewing a type of film I hardly ever review on here. I notice most of the films I review are usually theatrical films, and occasionally I'll talk about TV shows, but I hardly ever review made-for-TV movies. I mean, I've reviewed the Shining miniseries, and I think I reviewed another miniseries one time, but that's about it. But that's a miniseries. That usually is like 2 parts and up. Today I'm reviewing a one-part made-for-TV movie that was made by Lifetime, which I noticed they've been making a lot of films. Them and A&E have been making a lot of films recently. This, of course, is the biopic based on the case. It is called Lizzie Borden Took an Axe. It is directed by Nick Gomez and it stars Christina Ricci, Clea Duvall, I believe her name is pronounced, and Billy Campbell. Now, of course, I don't think I really need to tell everyone about the case of Lizzie Borden, but I will summarize it once I get to the synopsis. But we all know the famous nursery rhyme based off this case. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw just what she'd done, she gave her father 41. Which they do mention that at the very end of the film, which I thought was interesting. Now, it has a 6.7 on IMDb. I couldn't find it, but no score on Rotten Tomatoes. After watching the film, I could sort of see why it got that mark. Maybe a little high, but I think it at least deserves an average mark. Now, the film, directed by Nick Gomez, this guy, he's done some stuff, like he's done a couple movies here. Sorry about that. I've never heard of any of these, like Final Jeopardy or something, I'm guessing TV stuff. He's mostly directed episodes of TV shows. He directed episodes of Burn Notice, Blue Blood, Law and Order LA, House, Knight Rider, Brotherhood, True Blood, Dexter, The Sopranos, Veronica Mars, and The Walking Dead. So he knows his camera from those. So I trust him with the camera. I could say the camera was used well. If there's anything odd that was in the film, is that it used contemporary rock music at parts. I'm not going to complain, because some of the songs did seem to fit it. Like one of the songs, I didn't recognize any of the songs offhand, but one of the songs seemed to fit the sensationalism that this trial created at the time that the events took place. So I thought it was an interesting song choice. It's one of those weird things you watch and you're like, okay, that's weird, but like A Knight's Tale before it, the songs do end up fitting the scenes, although those songs in that film I recognize a lot more than this song, than this one. Now, plot of the film is there's Lizzie Borden. She's a Sunday school teacher who lives with her father, Andrew Borden, her stepmother, Abby, and her older sister, Emma, in a small house in Fall River, Massachusetts. On a hot summer day in August 1892, Lizzie's father and stepmother are brutally murdered with a hatchet. Now, of course, the authorities investigate the scene. They ask her something, did you love him and all that? Is that a stain on your dress? And they eventually begin to suspect Lizzie, and they bring her to trial. And eventually, she's found not guilty. Now, of course, since it's based on history, I don't mind spoiling that, but the film does go into a little bit of detail on why she was found not guilty. I don't know how much of it they just created for the drama of it, or how much, I'm guessing at least the speeches of the prosecutor and defense attorneys are based on their actual speeches or summations of them. But the film is compelling, and it makes me want to actually go and find a book or at least articles based on this case, because this is an interesting case. And of course, it does make me wonder if she actually did do it. In the movie, they make it clear she did do it in the very end. I know that's a spoiler, but with how the film is edited throughout the beginning parts, when we don't actually see the murder, it actually becomes kind of obvious that she did it. It's just it's not revealed to the ending that she did. It does make me wonder if in real life she did do it. If she did do it, it's probably for the reasons the authorities thought. If she didn't do it, then who the heck did it? Why didn't they try to frame Lizzie a little bit better? Now, one thing I'll have to point out is one of the reasons that her defense attorney was trying to say she didn't do it is that these were too brutal a murder. These murders were too brutal for a woman to commit. I think we all know with how women have been tried and convicted of murders within the last 100 years, that defense would not fly nowadays, and she would have been convicted. Then again, thinking of the time, so you gotta let it slide for that. Though, it makes you wonder why she was found not guilty. I mean, I don't know how long the actual deliberation was, but in the movie it was 15 minutes. When it's a short deliberation like that, that usually means that they're going to convict her. So I'm guessing it's like, it's a woman, let's send her home. That's my guess. Now, acting-wise, the actors did pretty good. Christina Ricci, I haven't seen a lot of her work. I remember her from the two Addams Family movies she did, and last thing I remember her from directly was Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. I thought she was decent in that. I'm gonna check the rest of her for you real quick. Gold Diggers, The Secret of Bear Mountain, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Pumpkin, Cursed, Penelope. I haven't seen either of those films. Warflowers, been meaning to watch that. Oh yeah, the Smurfs too. TV stuff as well. So I haven't seen a lot of her work, but she kind of fit the character of Lizzie Borden. The way she played her, though, I don't know if this is just entirely from her performance or a little bit of the screenplay, but she plays her as a woman that you could tell has something wrong with her mentally, whether bipolar or some other disorder. You can tell it, which I think that's a little bit of an interesting twist to put on it. Like I said, I don't know if it's from the script or from her acting performance or a little bit of both, but kind of fits with the fact in the movie they actually made it clear that she did do it, and I guess this is an indication of why. And it actually adds to how she tells her sister eventually she did it. Which I didn't even know until I saw the movie that Lizzie even had a sister, because they mentioned it at the end of it. Her sister is played by Clea, which I'm guessing I'm pronouncing her first name correctly. I thought she did a good job as the older sister. You can see that there's a little bit of a sisterly relationship between her and Christina. Let's see what else she's done. Little Witches, Wallflowers, The Astronaut's Wife, Girl Interrupted, The Grudge, Zodiac, which my grandmother, ironically, I think this is the right one, she's watching it in the other room. Oh, and she was in Argo. So I've seen one of her work. I don't recognize offhand who she played in that film, but I think she did a good job in that one. She did. You believed it. Billy Campbell played Andrew Jennings, who was Lizzie's lawyer in it. He did an excellent job, and he was very convincing during the scenes where he's giving his summations and also his back and forth with Lizzie and all the courtroom scenes. So if next year he gets a nomination at the Golden Globes or one other thing, I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, you all know he's been in stuff like Gettysburg, The Second Jungle Book, The Rocketeer as the title character. Of course, Quincy Morris in Dracula. Glad to see he's getting more work. Let's see other stuff he's done recently. Gods and Generals in '03. Within the last couple of years, some TV work. I haven't heard of a lot of this stuff. The Disappeared, Red Knot, Copperhead. Looks like he's been doing more TV work. Killing Lincoln, a TV movie. Delirium, The Killing, episode of Revolution, a movie, and The OC. So glad still doing work. Now, doesn't list on here who plays the Borden adults. So I'm going to try to look on IMDb for that. I don't act them offhand, but I recognize the actress who played Lizzie's stepmother. If I think the same actress that played that inn-owner in the fourth Tremors movie, 10 years later, 10 years older. I'm gonna check it. Checking IMDb. Okay. You would think that the Borden adults would be up towards the top of the list, but they're not. I'm guessing they're acting. Oh my goodness. Looks like they're not even on the list. That's a little BS, don't you think? Anyway, that's who it looked like. If it's her, guys let me know. But I thought that she and the actor that played Mr. Borden did a good job. And you believe them as a family unit, though a strained family unit. And maybe it's just me, but there looked to be like a little minor incestuous tension between Mr. Borden and Lizzie. Maybe it's just me noticing how some of the scenes were shot. I thought that was a little creepy, but that could just be me. Stepmother, the actress did a good job, but how the character is written, you could just take her or leave her, but I guess maybe that's the point. I don't know. The movie's more about the case anyway, because the murders are done within the first 30 minutes of the movie. Though they do kind of set some of the backstory in that time, like that some of it is that if she did do the murders, which in the story of the case of the movie she did, it was to gain some independence. Because if you know your history, you know that women were usually controlled by their husbands or a male relative at this time. So I could see sort of why she would have done it for that, but doesn't make her actions right. All in all, very interesting TV movie. I was actually a little surprised that they did have some gore in it. I mean, you don't like see gore like you'll see in an 80s slasher movie or something, but for a TV movie, I'm surprised. I mean, you actually get to see, though it looks like it's obviously CG, you get to see inside of Mr. Borden's head after you see what happened. It's like, ooh, the skull caved in. And you get to see some blood, and even though you don't see anything, there is some nudity in a couple of the scenes. Don't see anything, like I said, but a little risque for a made-for-TV movie, I think. Anyway, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Maybe that might change upon a second viewing, but I thought it wasn't that bad for a made-for-TV movie. If you're a fan of Ricci, I'd say it's worth one watch if you have a Lifetime and you may happen to catch it, because I have a feeling like Flowers in the Attic and Bonnie and Clyde before it, it's going to get a lot of playtime during the next couple weeks.